Welcome to Art Talk with April, Season 2. I'm April Harris of Inked April, located in Birmingham, Alabama. This season we'll be talking with new artists and professional expert artists. So I hope you enjoy it. Let's get started. Hi everyone, welcome to Art Talk with April. Today we have the very talented and very interesting David Lozeau, an artist where are you located at, David?
I'm in San Diego, California.
Okay, San Diego, oh my gosh. Well, I'm over in Alabama.
Not a bad deal.
So, I have so many questions for you. Let's just get started. Let's just get into it. How did you get interested in art? Were you doing this as a child? Did you have a class? Where did this creativity come from?
For sure. As a kid, I was a kid who got in trouble in the old days when you used to have to wrap your textbooks with, so they didn't get wrecked. I mean, I drew all over them. I drew all over desks. I was constantly getting in trouble for drawing all over stuff. I mean, I would draw little war scenes. I mean, just things that little boys draw, just all over everything, always into art. I had an aunt who was an artist and a graphic designer. And that really kind of gave me early direction that one, you can do a job that's creative and that adults do art. Because, as a kid, you don't realize that. So besides seeing Bob Ross on TV, I didn't really have any other influences besides her. So it kind of gave me direction to really, in high school, taking all the art classes and basically put me on a path to going to college for graphic design and a fine art minor.
Oh, I got you. Okay. Well, that's really interesting. So when you graduated, did you go into graphic design and do all of that?
Yeah. And I did that I still do that now, but I did that as a full-time job for basically until the art was full-time. So I was full-time graphic designer and I didn't do any art for about 7 years after college because graphic design was kind of my influence. It was it was feeding all those needs for creativity. It was satisfying me in those ways, but it really started to wear thin. But I mean, any job, once you do it long enough and you know exactly what they want and the limitations, it's just not as exciting anymore. So I one day kind of was moving my art stuff around from college. I went, I remember that. Let me play with that stuff again. And just was so energized with one really crappy painting going, I missed this. Like my job does not give me this satisfaction. And that kind of put me on a path of basically doing both things at the same time where I had a day job as a graphic designer. Weekends, I was at farmers markets. I was at art festivals. Basically, anywhere there was tent set up trying to hawk my stuff, I just kind of started to explore art more and more and kind of, do both things, never with the idea it would ever be a full-time thing. That was never the goal. At most, I thought it would pay for supplies. That was all I wanted to do. And I was thrilled for it to do that. And that kind of put me on a path towards just, doing more and more of these kind of, shows and really just experimenting, finding a style. It just kind of gave me an outlet and satisfied my creativity. And I didn't even at that point, I was a child. I didn't know what it would be or where it would go. But this was, late in life for a career because I was already 30 playing with art back again. So I'd taken all that time off. So it kind of put me behind the 8 ball of reattaching all that muscle memory again.
Oh my gosh. You said so many great things there. So
I'm going to ramble. So don't worry. There'll be tons of stuff. I talk way too much. So you'll have plenty.
I am right there with you. Okay. So I'm in my 40s and I'm doing that exact thing. I'm a graphic designer by day and I'm doing art because it's just one of those things I love to do. I love to create and graphic design. I love graphic design and it has its creativity, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, something's missing for me. And I'm not even, I'm at that place where I'm like, I really don't care if it becomes full-time or not. I'm doing it,
Exactly. And graphic design, how many times can you have a jerk tell you he doesn't like blue for some reason even though that's the color that the thing should be, you just get tired of that kind of, bang your head against the wall and you just be like, here's what you want, just go away. Here's what you kind of lose that creativity and the excitement. Like you don't get to try. I mean, I've had numerous graphic design jobs and careers over my career and none of them were ever like completely free. Even when I was freelance, it's still someone else's idea and they're not as smart as me in my head. They're not what it should be. It's never what I think it should be. And that was just constantly frustrating. That's why having art, again, even if you don't sell a print, having something that you can relate to. I mean, the world starts off telling you why you can't draw as a kid. As I'm doing shows for years, people have always said, I used to draw as a kid. And my first question is, why did you stop? And they're like, well, I just got busy and that's what kids do. And it's that kind of, the world's just made to beat that out of you, to not be creative, to not be a child, to not draw anymore. That's what kids do. It's the whole world's built against that. So for us to be able to have that, have the talent, it doesn't even matter. Have the energy is the most important part to dedicate to art, makes us rare to begin with.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think it's necessarily that, not anyone can do it. I think it's that we're all capable. It's one of those things where who continues, who doesn't lose that childish side or that playful side, and they can't help it. It's just they have to doodle on something, and it just continues and gets bigger and bigger. So I totally see what you're saying. And
well, and like you said, it isn't some strange, amazing talent that I've been blessed with. We all have this portion of talent, but it's nurturing and dedicating 10,000 hours to sharpen that talent. And that's all it is. To me, that's the biggest difference. Is I just dedicated time to this, that everybody has the innate ability to be creative, to do these things, but the time and effort to invest in it, people, I get it. It's a lot in life that can take away from that. And that's, to me, it's not a blessed thing. I just woke up one day and I could paint this way. It took a lot of talent and a lot of time, not talent, to do this. And that's a lot to ask from anybody to take 10,000 hours of your life to throw down a drain.
On that point, I don't know how long I've been drawing or how much time I've spent on it, but it's one of those things that it just takes over, so much of my time that it just makes sense to do, and so, but I know for a fact, looking at my childhood drawings, that I wasn't born with any kind of skill or talent. I have worked
just 10 years ago. I'm embarrassed at this still.
It's like I had the same, little stick figure people as any other child did.
Yep, exactly. Yep. And it's who sticks with it. It's who keeps doing it. Who keeps plugging away.
Yeah. Do you think some of that has to do with like getting validated, like through your childhood and young adulthood, like people affirming that in you and saying, yeah, you're really good at that? Do you think that's
I think it definitely helps. I think my family having an artist in it kind of, I meet so many parents who talk to me while I'm painting at street fairs and festivals, and they'll ask me about like careers and what should their child do? And it's already more receptive to an artist child these days than it was, 30 years ago, 40 years ago when I was a kid. I was the weird kid who drew, but my parents, having an artist in the family, gave them someone to relate to that, there is a job, they can do things. They're not just a starving artist, living in a loft in New York. It was more than a movie image. To have a person help them give that validation, it definitely, they were proud of it. It was something that, this is David, he's the artist. And there's always kind of the tag that it was. And obviously that any kind of, as a kid, you're dying for any kind of affirmation from adults. So obviously you're just soaking that up, desperately. But to me, it was always, I knew that I was going to school for art. I didn't struggle for what my career path would be in college. When I started looking, it was, what is the graphic design programs? In that way, I feel fortunate to kind of have that direction. That I wasn't, I've had friends who were in school in senior year in college, not knowing what they wanted to do. I always kind of knew. So that, and the graphic design was what I thought would be the career, because that was art to me. That was what, I'm an artist because I'm a graphic designer. Like that was good enough. And I was going to be thrilled to be that.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I think too, have you always lived in San Diego?
Oh, no. I grew up on the East Coast, which is, again, creatively a vacuum. I mean, you draw lobsters and fishing boats. That's what art is. There's nothing else out there, and to come out to California, almost 20 years ago, and to be exposed to all the artists who I saw do skate decks and all these, the lowbrow art, and more of the, the stuff that was on skateboards and hot rods, to see that tiki culture, to see all that art in one tight area, LA to San Diego. I mean, on the East Coast, there was none of that. There was no art jobs. I have a friend who's a sculptor and he sculpts Halloween masks for a career. Like, those jobs exist out here. They don't exist on the East Coast.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? That's what I was going to say, is that being in San Diego, you probably had a really good environment to kind of grow and become, the artist that you are. So did any of that influence like what you create today? Like, where did the skeleton themes come from?
No, no, and you're totally right. There's no question I would not be doing what I did if I didn't come out here. So I came out here, I was starting to paint. It was right about, I just was just starting to paint. I mean, I was doing abstracts. I was all over the map trying to figure out what I wanted to do, but I was dabbling in painting. And I came out to San Diego. I was in Santa Barbara first for a year and a half. And I came across a tiki carving, like a bunch of guys on the beach just carving tikis and showing tiki art. And I was like, this is so cool. Like this is, and hot rods and tattoos and all this stuff was mixed in and really started to inspire me. And then coming to San Diego and going to Mexico and seeing the Day of the Dead, my mind was blown. You know, there's no holiday like this for me. There's no opportunity to remember loved ones lost, to share stories about them, you know, once a year to talk about their favorite foods. Like I was jealous that I didn't have this kind of wonderful time to remember relatives that have passed. And I was so inspired by the idea of that, tossing the tiki and all this thing, my head was just exploding. You know, I just wanted to make art. I was overly inspired, trying to find a style, just jamming out art all the time, trying to figure out what I want to do, but so excited to be in a community where, and this is also back at a time when there was bulletin boards everywhere and forums where you could kind of follow other artists. And it was such a wonderful time because you could see all this work at different levels happening. And I was so inspired. It just gave me direction that I still follow today. I mean, the Tiki Hot Rod Day of the Dead is what I do. Like that is still my direction. And I'm still incredibly inspired with a pile of paintings I haven't got to yet that I've had for 20 years. Like the list doesn't go down. It just keeps being added to.
Yeah, that's awesome. So like, I noticed, like I was researching and looking at all of your work and everything. You have a very unique style, but also the mediums that you use. Like, why are you doing that the way you're doing it?
Yeah, and that's, again, it's kind of crafted from the journey that I took. When I said I had an art minor, I took didn't take any painting classes. I took all the drawing classes. I took one watercolor class. Regret it forever. I wish I would have done oil painting because I always imagined in my head I could be this great oil painter. Because whenever you are, you want to be something else always. Doesn't matter what you are. You always want to be somebody else. But so I think the illustrative style is why my head goes that way. And because I was doing these shows, I started doing, again, street fairs and farmers markets, but I was always live painting. My girlfriend has been there from day one. She was always in the booth selling while I was out front doing the art. I wanted people to see the art made. I wanted to kind of be that, Bob Ross in person again, for people to see art, be creative. So I needed mediums that, one, I could do very illustrative line work. I was a line artist. I've always been line. I see things in lines. It's just how my style is in my head. I needed things to I wanted to do the undercoating quickly so that you could see me get to the line detail quickly. Because if you're walking by, I want you to see the best part. The undercoatings are great and they're all important, but no artist is going to tell you he loves laying down, 7 hours of underpainting. It's just not how it works. It's the details, it's the nooks and crannies that we love. So I wanted to get to that part faster. So if you're walking by and you watch for 10 minutes, you see that kind of take place. And I'm a relatively fast painter. So if you sit there for 10 minutes, you could see, 2 skulls be painted, whatever, you could see details come to life. And that led me to finding, doing the acrylic backgrounds. And then I was drawn to the gouache on top because I liked the levels of transparency I could get that I just couldn't find with acrylics. And then because the enamel that I use is sign painter's enamel, and that came from doing all the hot rod and tiki shows. I was hanging out with these guys who were doing pinstriping on cars and everything. I went, oh, wow, look how that you're doing what my head sees. Like, that's how I want my paint to go on. And I just started experimenting with that. And I came up with these 3 mediums that together fit my style, let me work fast, and were pleasing for people to watch and really compress the timeline of my painting if you're watching me work. Because my whole career, 95% of the originals, like if you go to my site, I have 300 or 400 paintings, 350 of them were done in front of people, like at festivals and fairs. Wow. We were doing, 30 shows a year. So that was what I did. Yeah. I rarely painted in the studio. So I wanted something people could see work. They could be my gateway into, oh, come in the booth and see this. Look at this guy making art.
Oh, that's so cool. And that's one of those things that I've talked with lots of other artists about, is about the whole, like, doing booths and things like that. And, I've asked others, do they paint live in front of people and things like that at their booth? And do you feel like that really adds to, I mean, it sounds like it really brings people in to interact with you?
I couldn't, again, I get it. I'm not gonna say I'm an introvert. I'm pretty rambly because, again, the skills I learned as having a career in business and being able to give presentations help me be able to speak in public and talk. That's a benefit for me. I get the fear of talking and painting live, but there is nothing that makes a better impression than you creating the art. Nothing's going to stop people more or have them fall in love with what you do than you doing it live in front of them. I would tell any artist, I don't care what medium you do it in front and let people see the work created. They fall in love with your story, with you, with what you're creating. It's the most important thing. Wow. It's been the number one, I don't call it a weapon, but it's the number one like differentiator. Yeah. I go to street fairs, even, I've since retired in the last 2 years from doing street fairs, but before that, I was the only guy ever almost doing this out there. No, everyone else is, wow. I get it. You got to sell. If you're a lone artist and you got to sell in your booth, it's a lot of work. You can't paint. I get that. Yeah. But if you can find someone to help you, painting out front is the most important thing you can do. If you're a sculptor, ceramicist, doesn't matter. Get out front, let people see your work be made. That's how you differentiate yourself.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that, because I think that that's one of those things that social media kind of provides too. Like, you're doing a lot of live painting too online, aren't you?
Yep. Yeah, we do. I do live streams now because we left the road. I do live streams. We took a little hiatus for the summer, but we'll be back doing them. Yeah, we do them once a week, and basically it's about an hour and a half. And I usually do small paintings, and I'm doing the enamel layer, so you're seeing all the detail happen. Yeah. And usually those small paintings are done in that time. So again, for me, it's able to share the art. It kind of fills that void of not doing shows that I miss. I mean, I love being out there and doing shows, but after 15 years of being on the road, it's also great to be able to paint in my jammies. So.
Isn't it really? Oh my gosh. I just love that you're doing that though. I mean, did you how long have you been doing the live painting?
Online or just in front of the
online? Yeah, online.
Yeah, online. So we basically started, I want to say probably about 3 or 4 years ago. I'm a camera nerd, tech nerd anyway. So to me, it was a chance to oh God, I could buy more gear. It's always a chance to expand. And I realized that, when we just moved to our new house about a year ago, but live streaming was one of the main reasons. I was at the old house. I had a small, a room like yours, just a room. And to set up the live streaming stuff, it would take like an hour and a half for me to put up all the stuff, run all the microphones, all the cameras, just a lot of work. Here, it's set up 24/7. Like I can sit down and within 10 minutes, we're online. And that makes it so much easier to be able to stream. And my girlfriend has, just like in the booths on the street, she's here running everything. I just get I get the easy part. I just paint. She makes everything work.
Yeah. I think that's one of the issues too, is like communicating with people while you're doing that, like being able, I've tried to do it myself, and it feels like I either have to ignore everybody and just paint.
Yep.
Or
exactly.
I'm constantly stopping to talk to somebody.
And I hate watching a stream when someone goes like, okay, what? Hey Jim, these are all the guys in the stream. Like, I get it, but that's not fun to watch as a viewer. And that's why she's great, because she'll basically just shout the questions out. So I can just keep painting there and answer the question. And because I've done shows so long, talking as I paint is how I learn to paint. So for me, I don't need silence. The louder it is, the better I paint, the more comfortable I am, because I've been doing street fairs with people eating popcorn behind me for 20 years. It doesn't bother me. No sounds bother me anymore.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you ever feel like I guess you have to have sort of that active environment in order to paint? Like,
it's been tough to adjust and not have. Yes, I realized it was kind of like a drug, and being admiration poured on you for 8 hours a day is really easy to deal with. So to not have that anymore, it's not a challenge, but I love painting live. I still do events, pop-ups here and there, but I do miss it. That's why sharing it live, I still get the same feeling. People can see it being done. I mean, that fills that void, being able to still do that. I love it. I love people watching. I love noise, being in environments. Other artists, I love watching other artists work. That makes me inspired.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm the same way. So what would you say has been one of your biggest struggles through your art career?
It's tough. I guess it's really funny. There's numerous struggles. Yeah. I would say one of the biggest ones for us has always been the financial, tax, paperwork, email, marketing, that really bummer part of art, the part that we don't want to deal with, that's always been a challenge. I learned too late that you should get and pay an accountant to do everything correctly. I made mistakes. I paid for those mistakes, because you don't know. When it's a side hustle, you're like, how much side hustle can I hide? You don't know these things when you're first starting out. And so that was a biggest struggle, is learning how to, it's a real business. Stop acting like it's not. Write off because when you start recording everything, you get to write off your expenses. Be a real business, be an LLC, like grow up, and that was kind of one of the first big challenges was, okay, you're a real business now, act like one, get a website. You don't sell on Etsy, you sell on a website with your name on it so they can be there and see you and tell your story. I took a lot of things from my marketing side that I brought to art, and being a graphic designer, you and I both know, we already have bullets in the gun belt. We know, we know how to use Photoshop. We know how to do things, marketing, make images for ourselves, do these marketing materials. That's a huge advantage over other artists that don't have that ability, So in that way, we were able to do those things easy, but the financial side, tax side, managing expectations, doing commissions, all these things come with challenge when you first start doing them, that you don't realize the challenge until you smash into it with your face, so something goes really bad and you're like, oh, that's terrible, I should have fixed that, and some of those things you don't realize until too far down the road, but it's all the growing process, learning that you are a business, treat it as such. It's not a side hustle. It's just going to end up, biting you in the butt. Do it correctly. Write it off. If you're going to dedicate your time and effort to this thing, then it's a real business. And I always love to share this story because it really kind of reflects my girlfriend and I's relationship. So way back when I was basically painting, I wasn't doing any show, nothing. It's just painting, painting stuff and all different paintings. We had I always joke, it was kind of like a weekend long discussion, maybe a fight. I don't know what words you want to use, but it was like, what are you doing? She's like, if you're not gonna sell this stuff or show it, then paint over what you're doing and stop wasting money on supplies. And I was like, she's right. Shit. It's kind of like, you got to grow up. You got to get out there. If you're going to pretend you're this artist, then try and make something of it. And she was the inspiration and pushed me out to do that first street fair, to be out there. And I mean, it was terrible. I'm there in the camping chair. I have some prints that are in 3-ring binder plastic, because I didn't know you could buy plastic for prints. That's why plastic I knew you could put paper in. I mean, it was terrible, but we sold some art and the feeling was like, that's cool. Maybe we could do this more. Maybe this is like a thing, but to learn that and to have somebody push, it's important to have somebody to bounce ideas off. I mean, she's the best barometer of, if I do a new drawing, she's like, you've done that before. I'm like, no, it's a little different. Look at this. She's like, no, you've already done that. Try something else. You need someone that can be honest with you, cut through your crap and let you know exactly what's going on. But that goes back to being a business and admitting what you are and kind of growing and being professional, responding to emails. You got to be, people want to like you and your art. You got to make both, open and approachable. You have to be the art and be there for anybody who wants to talk to you about it.
Yeah. And I think too, especially with responding to people and making sure that you're doing things in a timely kind of manner, it's more business-like. And they're not okay, who is this stranger on the internet that I'm buying a commission from? Are they really going to follow through?
Exactly. And learning those things. That's why the live stream, you hear my voice, I'm a real person. You see the kind of stuff take place. It's all kind of letting you know that I'm not, some weird website where the money goes into a black hole. I'm a real thing. I exist. Here's the dogs. Here's what we do. We're a real deal. And it is right. It's being professional. I see artists and I'll go to their Instagram and there's 10 questions in a post and they haven't answered any of them. It makes me insane. Someone's bothered. I don't care if the question you've answered 1,000 times. If someone has asked you about your art, why would you not answer them? Why would you slam that door in their face to getting to know you and the art? And it just, to me, it's a professionalism, it's lazy, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, it really is. And as someone who is I'm an artist, but I also appreciate art and buy art from other artists too. So I'm I have experienced artists that just ignore you, don't ever say anything or respond. And you're it just kind of makes you feel differently about the artist. You may have been following them forever. And then you finally reach out to ask a question.
They don't answer it and you go unfollow.
You're
exactly.
Okay, maybe you're not the person I thought you were. I don't know what's going on. It just kind of puts a bad taste in your mouth where you're okay, maybe I'll move on. And
it sets you up for the next time you talk to an artist Now you're expecting that. So it makes it harder for all of us when you're a jerk, because now they're expecting jerks, you know? And that's why it frustrates me so much to see people just treat, you know, like it's so easy to sell art and it's so easy to be an artist, and you just kind of treat it, you know, nonchalant like that, which is the opposite of what it is.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I feel like that's such an important lesson for artists that are wanting to make it into a business, you know, like doing that side of it. Like you said, it has to be probably the most boring, like not fun part that you just cannot, and you have to make yourself do it in order to like really survive.
Exactly. None of it's fun. None of it's pretty. None of it, you know, but it is how it all works. So you want to get it. And the sooner you do that, the easier your path is, because that's taken care of. Once you have someone who does your taxes, tells you what to say, gives you advice, then you know what to do as your business hopefully blossoms and goes forward. It's a lot harder to go back and fix things.
Oh, I imagine so. I'm thinking, okay, I need to do these things.
It is. Again, it's one of those things, if you're selling art at any level, just to protect yourself, just to make sure, you know, you have things like commissions are a whole new, you know, can of worms, like learning a good process, learning what, besides your rates, it's, you know, my advice is someone pays 50% right then booking from you. That way they're invested in this, they trust you, they want to be involved, and then, you know, they're in it rather than trying to get payment after doing a painting. I mean, you learn the hard way, you know. Even collectors I had years ago who were great collectors, sometimes when I try and get payment, they're suddenly in the wind, you know. This way it was like, okay, we'll fix that. Everyone pays half up front. If I don't hear from you before I start your project, then we're done. And I just keep your money because you took off, you know. It doesn't happen often, but you just got to learn. You learn those things. You make mistakes, and you're, again, in the beginning, you're nervous to ask for a certain amount of money for your paintings. I mean, the most common price, how do you figure out pricing? How do you figure out those things? And every artist is asking themselves the exact same thing. And if they aren't, they're lying. So don't worry. It's the exact same thing we all go through, you know. And you look around and go, well, he's doing that, so I'm going to do this. And that's 9% of the time how we figure that stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm doing the podcast too, is because I know that we're all facing similar things, but how many people are like talking to each other about it? Or if they hear from someone like yourself that they admire and they're like, are you kidding me? He had that problem too, you know, like really, you know, kind of feels a little bit more achievable, I guess, when you know that it's a common issue. It's not just you know?
Yep. Motivation, writer's block, supplies, materials, we're all going through the exact same thing. It's just how we deal with them. And again, I always say that, you know, professional just means I'm better at hiding mistakes. That's all it means at this point, you know, the difference. It's just being out there. It's all the same mistakes, you know, I'm just farther along the road making them.
Oh, that's so great. And so on the point of commissions, have you, that's something that I know that a lot of artists sort of struggle with. There are people who, you know, just do not do them, or there are people that's their main income is all the commissions that they're getting, right? So where do you fall with that?
So this is one of those things that's changed a lot in my career. I'm very fortunate what I'm going to say to you, I'm very fortunate because I'm in a place in my career where I can pick and choose commissions. It wasn't always that way. So in the beginning, I did whatever anybody wanted to do, as we all do. But one thing I've never done, and even when I was starting out, is I won't do other people's characters. I won't do you a skeleton Batman. I would never do a skeleton, you know, anything. I wouldn't copy anything. I wouldn't do Rat Fink stuff. I wouldn't do anything that was someone else's character, because I knew, one, as an artist, that was wrong, you know, and fan art, I didn't want to be lumped in that category. So I avoided that from the beginning. But for ideas, in the beginning, I did whatever they wanted to do because I was thrilled to have commissions. I mean, someone's giving me money for art to do, like it's amazing, you know, to have that ability. So in the beginning, I did all that kind of stuff. And then when I was traveling, because I was doing so much, I wasn't enjoying the commissions when they weren't exactly what I wanted to do. So I was experiencing this, I'm successful, I'm full-time at this point, and the commissions are coming, but I started to be annoyed by them. They were like something hanging over my head. I wasn't enjoying them. So I stopped doing them because I want them to get full. If you're paying for me, I want me to love what you're doing. It's not fair if I'm not putting my full heart and soul into what you're doing.
Sure.
I felt conflicted. It was time to just cut that off. So I stopped that. And then even before the pandemic, about, 3 or 4 years before that, I took on commissions that I really liked. that I wanted to do, that we agreed, if someone comes to me and was like, and that's the biggest thing is setting expectations correctly for commissions. If someone came to me wanting an airbrush pinup, that's not what I do. I don't want to do this because you won't be happy and I won't be happy. So it's identifying that, being able to say no. And as an artist, sometimes that's your first big like, it's money, and who am I to say no to money? It's a hard thing to learn. And then basically got to the point where I was doing just the commissions I liked and very spotty. And I would tell people my waiting list was 2 years because I was just getting pieces done. When the pandemic hit, everything shifted. I was basically full commission for like a year and able to get to those commissions that collectors have been asking for a long time. Basically went to my list and said, hey, to those, people who are on it, I know I pushed you off. Everything's getting moved up. You can get in the stream. And they did. And they came amazingly to get stuff done. They've been waiting so long. And big paintings. Wow. Half the reason I'm in a new studio is because I was doing 4x8 paintings, just gigantic paintings that I hadn't done before. So it really, I was excited. I was energized. The people that were getting them have been long-term collectors. So it was really fun to work with them on their commissions. It was really a fully happy experience. So commissions have basically come full around where it was like, it was good, it was terrible, it was okay, and now it's awesome again. It's kind of taken that long to get to that point. But I found that, as my prices have gone up in my career, it helps weed out people who are serious and really committed to getting a commission. If you want a commission and you have to pay this much, you're not going to forget about me. This is a big part. I'm there and we work together, and it's really, as I've matured, my collectors have matured. It's just really become a really rewarding experience working on these. I have a piece right now I've been working on for probably about 3 months now. And it's a 4x8 foot pirate scene, 2 big ships going next to each other. It's hours and hours. I didn't start painting. I'm still doing the drawing portion of it because it's so much, but I'm so excited. He's excited. He wants to reference older paintings I've done and put those characters in there. Like, that's so exciting to capture, to have his energy match mine. Like, that's really exciting part. And that's what makes commissions. I want them all to be like that. Very enjoyable, something I'm excited to. I don't want anything to be tedious because I don't want them to not get my full 100%, energy. Because when I look at my commissions that I didn't like in the way long time ago, they're good, but I know there's no reward for me in them. I wasn't able to make it better because they had these strict parameters, and I learned how to share and get it as an artist. You learn how to collaborate with someone who doesn't know art, but how to show them what they want. A lot of times, like with graphic design, they know what they don't want once they see it, So with art, you can't paint it and then go, okay, I'm sorry you don't like it, but you got to pay, So
you're kind of like, I'm not sure if you know what you're really asking for, but let me show you what it is.
Exactly. And nowadays, when I tell them what we can add to their commission, they get so excited, oh, we can do this. What's the color collar on your dog? Let's sneak him into the corner here. Like, when I can take personal items, and basically I kind of tell them that we're making a family heirloom. Your kids will want this painting after you're gone. Like, this is a moment in your time, a moment in your family. If it's a family portrait or whatever it is, it becomes, part of you. Even the pirate scene, I want you and your wife to be the pirates on the ship. Like, let's take some reference photographs and get you guys on there. And that just, to me, that's what a commission should be. It should be part of you, what you love, all rolled into one.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That is awesome. And I love that you pointed out that in the beginning, you were kind of struggling or whatever, and then you were painting whatever people would ask for. Did you have anybody that like really pushed back and like wanted you to change your whole style and everything?
Oh, definitely. In the beginning, and a couple of those got through, but I got good real quick at picking out people who I knew wasn't going to match. So I would make them explain what you wanted. And I had a couple commissions. These are when I was just starting out, that they didn't, at the end, they were like, okay, but I wish it would have been this. I'm like, I told you it should have been that, it's because I wasn't strong enough to push, and say, no, you should do this. I wasn't strong enough because I was just starting out. But there was definite, times where I ran into blocks. I canceled some commissions because they didn't want to wait. All the normal stuff you learn doing commissions, but of course, all the things that go badly, things that go, which is even more frustrating. I want you to love what I made for you, that we worked together on it. Yeah. If you're not jumping around, my ego goes, why don't you love it? So you learn all those as a creator of art for somebody, it's a different thing than creating it for yourself. And you have to learn all those ups and downs. And really, it was all just building me a profile to be able to ask and get exactly what they want now, because I know what to ask. I know how to get there. And as a starting artist, I didn't know how to cut those problems off. I didn't know, the SB contracts that say you can't reproduce this, things you don't learn until, that guy's printing the commission you made for him. You'll learn these things until you go through these problems.
Oh man, that's that's a whole nother can of worms. Thank you so much, David, for talking to me today. I'm so excited that we got to talk. I love what you're doing. I love your work. I'm probably going to purchase something eventually. I'm like, this is awesome. This is just right up my alley. I love it. I love everything.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So exciting to get to actually talk to you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Art Talk with April. For more information on this episode, join the Facebook group, The Art Lounge. Please subscribe and share. See you next Tuesday. Hope you have a great week.